Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mount Olive Township Council meeting for May 17, 2016. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence for the women and women that serve. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Michelle, would you read the Open Public Meetings Act, please?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. The notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Here.
Mr. Ferrante?
Here.
Mrs. Labow?
Here.
Mr. Mania?
Here.
Mr. Storr?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Nicastro?
Here. First, we have a presentation from New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It's big font, so it's not going to be bad. In March, I appeared at a hearing before the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police, Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission in South Brunswick, in a final review of our application for reaccreditation status. I was not alone. I was accompanied by our accreditation team of Lieutenant Michael Spitzer, Sergeant Michael Corleone, Acting Sergeant Eric Anthony, and Officer Mary Ann Wartenberg. Initially, 6 years ago, Lieutenant Spitzer was assigned as the accreditation manager, and Sergeant Corleone acted as an assistant manager. As a plan of succession, this time, 3 years ago, I assigned Sergeant Corleone as the manager and had Lieutenant Spitzer and Acting Sergeant Anthony assist him. Mary Ann Wartenberg also kicked in. The process is a 3-year endeavor that requires gathering the necessary proofs along the way to prove that we have not only authored the best practices policies, but that we are in fact performing them. Over the past 3 years, this team has assured that we documented, collected, and forwarded the necessary confirmation to the board for initial review. This past November, the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police Assessors conducted a 2-day on-site inspection here at our facilities, and then they authored their findings. At the hearing in March, I praised our team, as well as all of our employees, who very much buy into the need to be doing things right. You all know how proud I am of this agency and accreditation, and now reaccreditation. It's a noteworthy accomplishment. I must be candid in sharing that without the initial urging specifically of Lieutenant Spitzer and Sergeant Corleone, I'm not sure that we would have even gone down the road towards accreditation. They're the catalyst behind the program. We survived the submission process, inspection, and hearing, and we have once again been granted accreditation status. Today I'm joined by Chief Christopher Wagner of the Denville Police Department. He's the president of the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police. He's also a good friend, and he's going to be here to formally present our certificate tonight. And he'll probably say a lot more than me. I'm just warning you, he likes to talk.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you. And I actually may not speak more than the chief today, but thank you, Chief, and members of the police department for allowing me just a few minutes to talk a little bit about the accomplishment. And I think that Chief Spitzer did a good job describing the accreditation process and the reaccreditation process. There are 102 standards that a police department has to be in compliance with in order to achieve the accreditation. And all of us, myself included, I'm about 18 months behind in Denville, the process that you're in here in Mount Olive. So I'm working towards our first reaccreditation. And I think it's important to note that achieving accreditation the very first time is a monumental task, and it requires the input and volunteerism and spirit of people who say, I want to do this, and our department should do this. And it's an awesome achievement when you achieve it. But I don't think you should ever dismiss the importance and relevance of a reaccreditation. The accreditation the first time is a lot of paperwork and a lot of policy writing and reviewing, and then proofing that, yeah, we did that. And it's important and sometimes difficult to do. What's more important, and should be of importance to you, and I know is of importance to your insurance carrier and the lawyers in the municipality, is that your municipality continues to abide by those standards. And those are best practice standards that when called to the carpet or called to the witness stand in court and questioned about, chief, lieutenant, captain, officer, do you follow these best standards? You can not only answer yes, but prove that your answer is in fact true. So a lot goes into that reaccreditation. It's not just a matter of checking off a couple of boxes and saying, yeah, we did this. There is a real legitimate, very difficult, thorough process, but most importantly is the understanding that all of the police officers in Mount Olive, they have to buy into this, period. It doesn't happen with just these 4, not taking any away from the work that they've done, or 5, but without each individual police officer saying, I understand and I will follow the rules, you don't achieve the reaccreditation. So it really is, it's a great task. It's a task that you should be proud of, that your police department achieved, that each member of the police department should be proud that they helped towards achieving it, and that they continue to see the benefit in that, and that from the State Chiefs Association that we pledge that we will continue to revisit those best practices, add additional ones if necessary, additional standards, and provide the policies for them to do it. So that being said, I'm pleased to present the certificate to the members of the Mount Olive Police Department for their first reaccreditation under the State Chiefs Program.
I told him he speaks.
I thought all police chiefs spoke a lot.
I knew we were doing it, that's why I got the haircut.
There you go. You got a copy.
Why, so we reflect?
That's it.
No, I'm good.
Thank you and congratulations. And, you know, I speak for all of us that we're very proud of our police department and the officers, men and women that serve us. And thank you all for the hard work you do.
Joe? it's just-
Yes, Colleen?
I just want to ask a quick question. Do you have to do the accreditation every year or every 2 years or? 3 years, okay.
It's been 3 years
Every
already,
3 years.
huh?
And has it really been that long already? Wow.
Well
Great.
done.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Very
much.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Congratulations.
It's like being a congressman. Gotta run for re-election as soon as you-
Next item is the discussion of ordinance amending the supplementing Township Code, Chapter 294, peddling and soliciting, Article 1, general provisions to add a code of conduct to the sections, methods for residential complaints. Any discussion on that? Everyone? Mr. Roman?
I quickly perused over this ordinance, and what is the penalty if the solicitor did not get a permit? So if somebody decides to start soliciting without a permit, what are the penalties that we currently have on the books? You know, because I think that is something that we should look into, because it's all well and good that there are people out there that are willing to go through the process of background checks and as such, and we do have provisions in there that they'll eventually, you know, lose the privilege of getting a permit, but let's say they continue, what are we gonna do in those instances?
The fine's in there, it's in the ordinance.
But that's,
Yeah.
There are penalties. I remember when I was
Right.
looking at the statute as the code as a whole, that there were penalties. I don't remember what they were off the top of my head, because I was just focusing on
Right.
trying to get this code of conduct and a provision for resident complaints, as we had discussed at the last meeting.
I think that one of the issues that we had with the penalty was that it had to be with the police involvement, not like a resident or a town. It had to be where the police actually found the person and then find it through the police department. Do you remember?
Correct.
Captain? Is that how,
I
for the peddlers?
Yes.
If they,
come to us for a background check.
right, but if somebody peddles without getting the...
There's a fine for that.
There's a fine for that. But that,
You need to-
township ordinance
Steve,
complaint.
Can you grab up? Oh, I didn't know if you had something else. I was say for the microphone part of it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Really
Steve
that's
Beecher,
okay.
Captain for the Police Department. In reference to the soliciting without a permit, if our guys catch them doing so, they typically issue a township ordinance complaint.
Is there, you know what the penalty, the fine is for that? Is
I
it?
don't know the fines or penalties offhand. It's been a while for me.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of issues with people that have been peddling, for instance, magazines. They carpool oftentimes to the apartments or to residential areas like Clover Hill, and they go about peddling for magazines. And there's been issues in the past with people, for instance, never even getting those magazines. And oftentimes, these people peddle without a permit.
That happened to me. I was a victim of that. It's like
So
you
you're well
just-
aware,
Yeah, you think the guy's nice and you...
right? And oftentimes, they're from out of state. They stay at a hotel and they come in, they carpool in, and they peddle for their magazines.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I think we got to make sure that there is a fine if we catch them. You know, if there's somebody coming to door and they don't, and they report, report it to the police department. You guys go and see that he does not have. I believe you did say that there is already an ordinance that they're violating. But I don't recall seeing it in this ordinance. You know what the penalty ends up being, and what is it a fine? Monetarily, and if it is, what is that penalty? And, maybe we should discuss whether it's something that should be a little bit more punitive.
Oh, that's what okay, here, Mr. Roman, here it is. Any person or firm or corporation who violates any provision of this article shall, upon conviction thereof, be punishable by one or more of the following reasons: by imprisonment for a term not exceeding 90 days, or by a fine not exceeding $1,000, or by a period of community service not exceeding 90 days.
So I think in there, we don't have a minimum. So there's no minimum in there. So it's very well possible that this is something when it gets adjudicated, that it's easily gets thrown out. So maybe that's something we should discuss, whether it's something that we want to do as far as a minimum.
Is there on there?
No, I'm asking.
Oh, yeah, like maybe a first offense, second offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that we should discuss, because, okay, yeah, no, not to exceed, that's very easy. 0 does not exceed.
Not-
That's not part of it.
That actually wasn't the focus of this particular amendment. We absolutely could revisit that if that's something that the council would like. But for the purpose of this particular amendment, and the reason we requested it be put on for discussion was so we could discuss all of the ins and outs of what we included, was this was as a result of some citizen complaints of some very forceful tactics by individuals who apparently had gotten the proper permits but were just behaving poorly, and there wanted to be a mechanism to complain and some kind of code of conduct other than going to the police to make a complaint. So that was the purpose of this. I understand the point you were trying to make. I think they're two separate
Right,
issues.
you go from this, and then you end up later on being, under that one, under the penalty, monetary.
Correct.
And that one has no teeth, basically. It's a...
Correct.
Doesn't sound like it.
If I hadn't looked at it for its enforceability, it's,
Yeah, 'cause I would much rather entertain an ordinance that not only, that has teeth, whether they be 1 or 2 or a whole full set.
we absolutely, we absolutely can include in this amendment, when it's ready to be introduced, an amendment to the violations and penalties section, if that's desired.
That seems like it's the...
Right, so are we gonna start, are we gonna go with minimum penalty? Or I guess, that either we discuss it now,
Yes.
or,
I think, my opinion on that, I think it should just be a financial penalty. The incarceration or community service just seems like, I think money hits them better than, and it should be so much for a first offense, second offense, and then I would wonder if they do end up getting a third offense, if we go to 3, that they can't have their peddler's license renewed, but I don't know if we're allowed to do that or
Well,
not.
there is a provision for revocation of licenses, which is actually the section directly,
Right after,
or
yeah.
several above that. It's
There you go.
294-10.
But the licenses
And this
come-
is 294-13.
The licenses are yearly, so if they get it, revoked one year, can they turn around and apply the next year? Because you do have a lot of people who are repeat on the peddler's licenses.
Yeah, and is it the company that's getting their license revoked, or is it the individual? So in other words, so,
All the,
the
no,
individual.
the individuals are supposed to get them, Alex. It can't just be a company, it has to be each individual person knocking on the door.
Right, the individuals, when they come to us, it's the individuals that come for the permit, representing a company.
right, and then, so in this scenario, you have an individual, let's say for company X, they violate, boom, and then just, they'll have another person from that company, and I think the company needs to know that if they're going to have employees that routinely violate our ordinance, then they will no longer be allowed to even apply for whatever, year. And then maybe that would also start because the company's not being fined at all. There's nothing, they'll just continue training however they see in order, to get, their salespeople to go out there and
Right, the
get a sale at any
individuals,
cost.
the individuals are the ones getting the fines or the
Right.
ordinance ticket.
So again, if you, I think it should be like, almost like any business, if those in your employ continue to violate best practices, then
Not as far
the
as
company
violation.
itself should also
Penalties,
be,
no, just for the code.
penalized.
That's a
So
good point.
I think we
Alex,
should
I
add-
think the individual that's being fined probably turns it into the company to get reimbursed. I'm sure he's not putting it out of his pocket.
But, so I think the company also, if they continue to have violations, they should also be excluded from reapplying. I don't know, the rest of us, the rest of
I-
I think that's a good point.
I can look at that. Once you start telling people they cannot apply for these permits, you start running the risk of First Amendment rights
Yeah.
violation claims.
Right.
And so it's a very, very touchy subject. I can look into it. I can look at maybe some other options for penalties and repeat offenders. But again, we need to keep in mind that we cannot take away the First Amendment right. So that's just a consideration. And if that's what the council wants me to do, that I absolutely will do that.
Should we table it then for?
Well, it's only for discussion
Well,
this one.
okay.
Yeah, this
We
is
weren't
only
gonna
for
vote.
discussion.
And this was for the code of conduct, which I guess everybody was okay with the code of conduct.
Right.
It was more so now into the part of the penalties.
correct.
So we might as well bring it all together, I guess, and
Absolutely.
do that.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Yeah.
Does it have to be, like, instead of always getting the police involved, if we get complaints from the residents, would that count as towards the penalty, or does it have to be police involvement?
Well, no, one of the new sections was to incorporate resident complaints.
I know,
And
but I mean, with this next section we're talking about with the penalties.
with the penalties and,
I think that's just when the police
The-
issue the town ordinance, you said?
Mayor?
I think you guys are really
Going way
overthinking
overboard,
this.
yeah.
Really, you know what, you leave it to the police to charge, you leave it to the court to decide what the appropriate issue is, and you're just really overthinking. You're spending too much time on it, I think. And
That's only been 5 minutes.
Yeah.
yeah, even so, I'm sitting here just listening to it going, I can't believe this discussion, so.
You just want to
I
cover
mean,
it
you
all.
can do
at
whatever
once.
you want with it, but it just seems like the changes which are proposed are really good changes, and you could go back to the well 50 million times and change the word "the" to "then" or "and." I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Have we had a lot being charged over the last years, or just
It's
complaints?
cyclical, of course, it depends on the season. My experience is that the present ordinance works. As Councilman Mania said, oftentimes when these guys are fined and penalized, the company does pay. And what that does is it creates a situation where they no longer want to come to Mount Olive. And over the course of the years, I've seen that with a number of companies, in particular the people that solicit for magazine subscriptions. And like I said, though, it's cyclical, so they'll go away for a while, but eventually they'll come back. But if our guys stay on top of it, and if people are calling it in, we'll go out and we'll continue to issue those ordinance summonses.
Good.
So what's the decision, what's the feel of the council then? Are we
I
gonna
mean,
pursue this to?
I mean, I like the code of conduct that we have in this. But again, my concern is just adding at least a minimum penalty and later on, just to add a little bit more teeth to it.
Is that what the council wish? If that's the, does everybody want to do that?
Yeah, I just want to ask the
Generally-
captain if did anybody ever get, do you do the fine or do you do the community service when it comes
It's
to that?
really, I mean, there's some room for discretion on the part of the judge, which I think is appropriate, because there are times where the judge will see people that he's seen before, and he's had to talk with before, so to speak. And so that person will get, usually it's just a financial penalty, but that person will get an enhanced financial penalty. But typically, it's just financial. It's a fine.
So it works the way it is now, your experience?
In my experience, yes.
So if it works, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem is that it probably hasn't been working because we have been getting increased complaints. I mean, I'm assuming, is it Pershing Estates is the one that we have been having increased complaints in. So I know I've been approached, not recently, but at least in the last 6 months or so, people complaining about it. And, obviously the 2 instances I can recall, they never bothered to call the police department because they didn't know that was something that you call the police for. But they did voice their concern with me.
It seems like, to me, it's a communication issue. I mean, certainly, we can't, and you can't do anything about a potential problem if you don't know there is one.
Correct.
So if we're not hearing that there's any complaints regarding any particular companies or any particular solicitors, we're not going to be taking any action. And even when we go to renew that solicitor's permit the following year, we won't have that information that you're being told with regards to them being aggressive or their demeanor being poor.
And Mr. Roman, that's why we included the new procedure for resident complaints. So if a resident does complain to you now, there's a process in place for reporting it and getting it taken care of, whereas in the past there was not.
Right, and again, I do like the code of conduct that's included in this.
Maybe we just do more communications with the residents and we let them know that these are on the books. And if there are complaints through the mayor's Facebook page, through different things, out in the newspapers, let people know that, because they don't know about it. I mean, most people wouldn't call the police unless it was something really bad. Most of them throw them away or something. But if there's issues, they don't know what to do. So maybe we just make more communication with the public, just to let them know.
Right.
And let the lawyers do what they've been
That's the way
doing
to
for
go.
us, and then that's fine from there. Because I understand Mr. Roman's point, but if it's working, we could just educate the people more and maybe it'll
Right.
work better. So if that's the case, we can leave it and go with the code of conduct,
Right.
and then see what happens from there, but do better communications, I think would be a good way to do it.
Agreed.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, I believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 11 resolutions. Anyone have any questions or comments or concerns? Mr. Amianda?
On resolution number 9, I would like to know how will it be funded if a new special law enforcement officers is established in schools. How will it be funded? And also, I would like to know why we need actually to have that amendment. As far as I know, most schools are operating pretty good now.
Yeah.
Would you like me to speak to that?
Yes,
That's
please.
why I asked Chris Wagner to stay. Why don't you come up too, Chris? We're talking about the ordinance in support of the Special Law
Correct.
Enforcement Officers Bill.
Correct.
So we have one special officer now. His name is Joe Kluska, and he used to be a police officer. He was a school resource officer. We put him in the school and we made him a special officer. We're allowed to have one full-time paid officer. He's not paid by the township. He's paid by, not by this pocket, he's paid by that pocket. He's paid by the Board of Ed. And the plan remains the same. This bill is asking for a relief to the special officers bill. The special officers, you're allowed to have one full-time paid officer per town. And we're not asking you to add a special officer here, although someday I think we're going to come to you and say add a special officer. But it's to back the plan at the state level to let other towns be able to expand that. And it's specific to former law enforcement officers. So they're taking law enforcement officers who retire, allowing them to become special officers so that the school or the town could hire them to be in the school, to have armed security who are responsible to the chief of police, no matter where they're paid from. So they would follow our rules, they'd go through our training, they'd go through our accreditation process and all that. I'll ask Chris to speak to that because it really is his bill, and that's why I asked him to stick around.
So it's a good summary. There are many school districts that can't afford to have police officers in their schools. I'm fortunate that in our regional high school we have a full-time SRO, and in the county vocational technical school in Denville we have an SRO paid for by the vocational school. In both cases, the salaries are either supplemented or completely paid by them. I have a separate K-8 district that can't afford an entire police officer for a school resource officer, but would like to have a security officer in the school. Doesn't want to hire just someone off the street that would just carry a gun or wear a golf shirt and say security. Would like a former police officer, right, who wears a uniform, who's responsible to the chief of police, who's guided by all the rules and regulations and policies and procedures of the police department, who qualifies twice annually with a firearm, with all the department issues firearms. In a crisis, can communicate with the chief of police. In a criminal investigation, can conduct a criminal investigation and be privy to confidential police investigative records, none of which a private security guard would be able to do. The funding question is town by town, county by county, individual decision to be made. In Denville, my K-8 superintendent has said, we'll fund it, the Board of Education, right? That we don't need to go to the police department to ask for it. You find the candidate, you hire them, but we'll fund them. In some towns, the police department or the municipal council may say, we've chosen to fund them. It would be an individual decision. What we've run into in New Jersey is a bit of a stalling of the bill, and so we've requested these resolutions to be passed around. We just passed one in Denville at our municipal meeting. It began over in Montville. Just a letter to the legislators in the Assembly right now is the problem. We actually have a meeting the first week in June with Speaker Prieto to talk specifically about this bill, to get it moved, to get it passed. It could conceivably not cost you a single cent, but provide a good foundation for school security at a much reduced rate than having a full-time police officer in there, and provide you that level of security of having a former police officer there. I mean, a Class 2 special can be 19 years old. You can imagine the disruption possibly of putting a 19-year-old in your high school as a Class 2 special, right? That could become problematic. This would be a more seasoned police officer.
Ms. Leiber?
Why did they restrict it to only one to begin with? What was their reasoning behind that? Do you know?
So there are very specific laws in the state of New Jersey under the specials bill, and the language says that special police officers are designed to supplement the police department, not supplant the duties of a full-time police officer. Mm-hmm. The state of New Jersey doesn't technically have part-time police officers. So the rank and file police officers become concerned when you start to hire part-time policemen. Mm-hmm. Then you no longer have full-time police officers, and it deteriorates the foundation of your police department. So the state has said each municipality can have one unless you're a shore community. Right? They're unlimited in their numbers of specials if they can justify. For instance, Seaside Heights has about 20 cops in the winter. They have about 150 in the summer. And that extra
Seasonal,
130 are seasonal Class 2 specials. So that's the reason for the limit of one full-time, and then you can have a multitude of part-time.
So the specials, they get it's a reduced salary than what a
Yes.
Full-fledged police officer would be. And what about benefits in terms of retirement, that type of thing?
And again, general, case by case.
Oh, it's a case by
the
case.
salary would be established by you. You could pay them as much as a part-time or full-time cop. You could pay them $15 an hour, $20 an hour. Benefits discussions would be a local discussion for it. Generally, they're not. They don't receive benefits. And as a retired police officer, you generally wouldn't be permitted to receive the benefits
And
package.
basically, it sounds like most of the cases, it's the school systems that are looking to hire the specials. So it's, and for all the reasons both of you stated, you want to have somebody who is experienced and can do all this. So I don't see a problem with it.
There are other municipalities that do hire specials for their police department as well.
Oh, they hire
Beyond-
further, oh, okay.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can tell you Independence had a special for many, many years.
For the police department, not for the schools.
Right.
But this bill is not specifically just for the schools, it's just allowing communities to have more than one.
Specifically for the schools.
Oh, this is specifically for the schools?
It's relieving you of
Wow,
that
yeah.
restriction specifically for
I
the
don't
schools.
understand
And
why
a little
there's a
further on our
problem.
example, I have Joe Kluska, who's a special officer at the high school. We have Rick Lindner, who used to be a DARE officer. I said DARE, I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
He's over here at the middle school, and he's a security guard at the middle school. This means that if the bill passed, I could make him a special officer. They could still pay him. He could be armed, and he could be in a police uniform and
Right.
talking on a police radio.
Yeah.
So it just
Police have a
makes,
very strong union.
I was
So
just
that's
going to
why
say,
they-
it's got to be
never-
the union, it's got to be the union that's stalling this, I'm sorry,
no,
but
the
that's...
union is actually cooperating.
Oh, really?
We've
You-
gone to the PBA.
Wow.
And they're.
Because it relates to schools, but if you changed it for.
For municipalities,
That's
it's a
correct.
whole nother
That
animal.
would be a problem.
But that's why
correct.
I'm not understanding why there's an issue, it's for the school, so just get it done already, move on, you know, and it's a plus. So, and these guys, they know how much I feel about having an officer in the school in uniform, to me is extremely important,
And
you
that's the
know.
problem. It just seems to be stuck in some muck and mire in Trenton. We're not really sure why. That's why we're hoping the municipalities can get behind it. And we do have the PBA, the FOP, the League of Municipalities, the State Chiefs Association, the school board or school superintendents all support this. It's
Yeah, oh,
I hate to sound like a hypocrite, or not a hypocrite, but cynical. Everything is stuck in muck and mire in this thing.
you are
Yeah.
actually 100%
Yeah.
correct. You're right.
The biggest problem with running a municipality is the state of New Jersey.
And they are, right? The state,
Yeah.
we're here to help. They say all the time.
do you have a thing where the residents can call their assembly and senate people? These are,
That would be extremely helpful if there are people who are interested,
Yeah.
who feel passionate about it and think that it's something that should happen,
Mm-hmm.
to call their legislators and say, can you move this? Can you tell us why it's held up? And tell us.
Yeah, because-
Most of the ones we talk to say it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's
It
what I'm
doesn't
thinking.
mandate anything. You don't have to do it. And if many towns are doing this already,
Mm-hmm.
but they're doing it at a lesser level that's really dangerous for
Yeah.
the security guard and the students and the teachers in the school. So we're hoping that once we get some push behind it, it's going to move
yeah,
quickly.
because, I mean, if they look at, I mean, it's nice that you're doing the resolution, but they could just sort of say, bunch of politicians, you know, just like toss it. But you start having residents, the constituents calling in, it's a whole different ballgame then. So if you put something together, we could start sticking it on Facebook and having people call that way, you know, you never know. Power of the people. Rob's
Good
like.
idea. Always a good idea to get people involved.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Amianda, on that? Answer your question?
No.
Anyone else have anything else on resolutions?
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Nothing else on resolutions. There's two ordinances. Do we have any questions on the ordinances? Seeing none, do we have any new business? Seeing none, does anyone from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, close to the public. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you. Open up the Mount Olive Council meeting for May 17th, 2016. Michelle, would you read the Open Public Meetings Act, please?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Leibau? Ms.
It's here? I mean, everybody's saying yes, I'm like,
Yes.
aren't we
Here.
doing roll call?
She's here.
Mr. Mania?
Here.
Mr. Stewart?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Yes. Here.
Mr. Nicastro?
Here.
What are you saying?
Mr. Amianda, would you move
Yes,
the
I'm
approval of minutes from the workshop and public meeting
That works.
Yes, Mr. President.
for May 3rd?
I make a motion for approval of the minutes of previous meetings, workshop, and public on May 3rd, 2016.
Second.
Discussion? None, roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Abstain on workshop, yes on public meeting.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. We have 32 pieces of correspondence. Anyone have anything on correspondence? Seeing none, we have no ordinances for second reading. We have, next item on the agenda for first reading is ordinance number 11-2016, an ordinance of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Township Code Chapter 318, Sewers and Water, Part 1, General Provisions, Article 4, Water Service, Section 15, Connection Required, waivers to add subsection E. Mr. Ferrante.
I move that ordinance number 11-2016 be introduced by title and passed in first reading, and that a meeting be held on May 31st, 2016 at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration of second reading, and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of the law.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anyone? Oh, no. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, close to the public. Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Next item on the agenda for first reading is ordinance number 12-2016, bond ordinance amending sections 3G and 6B of bond ordinance numbered 11-2014 of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, finally adopted April 22nd, 2014, as amended by bond ordinances number 14-2014 and number 25-2014, finally adopted July 8th, 2014, and October 28th, 2014, in order to include an additional project and to amend the average useful life. Mrs. Laybow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that ordinance number 12-2016 be introduced by title and passed in first reading, and that a meeting be held on May 31st, 2016 at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration of second reading, and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of law.
Second.
Discussion? None? Anyone from the public? Close to the public. Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. We have 11 consent resolutions. Does anyone wish to move any to non-consent? Seeing none, does anyone from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, close to the public. Any comments, questions on resolutions? None? Roll call, please.
I have to move.
A second, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr. Mania.
I move consent resolutions 1 through 11.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Mr. Stewart, would you move the bill list, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill list be accepted and adopted for final
Second.
passage.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Administrative reports, Mayor, Laura.
First, let me congratulate Mr. Stewart. I saw that his daughter graduated from the University of Pennsylvania, so I assume that you were at the graduation with the Vice President and Donald Trump.
Yes, and they were sitting 2 sections over. Not together, though.
Congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you.
I don't really have an administrative report tonight, but I do want to congratulate the Rec Department and Buildings and Grounds for a very successful event that they ran, the Pirate and the Fairy and Pirate Festival. Did you go, John?
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, how crowded
Very
was
was
it?
great. Yep.
Yeah, so congratulations to them, and we look forward to the next event, which is coming up, and I know that the Mud Run is not too far away, which is a great event, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be very, very crowded.
Thank you. Anything, Laura? All good. Any old business? Ms. Lebo?
I just wanted to say really fast, we talked last week about the house on Mount Olive Road, and the gentleman did contact Laura, that they asked around the neighbors and stuff, and the guy is in and out, and he waves, and he's not particularly friendly, so he definitely is there, so I guess we're gonna still just keep working on it eventually.
At least we know he's there. Right? Thank you. Any new business? Seeing none, any legal matters?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to apologize for being late. Traffic on 80 was horrendous. Fred wanted me to thank the council, the mayor, and the administration for permitting us, through the resolution enacted at the last meeting, to negotiate and settle several tax appeals. He felt that the trust you put into our office really allowed our office to get a very good result for the township. My understanding is a report is forthcoming regarding the actual outcomes, and it will be very pleasant for everyone to receive. Also, along the lines of the gentleman in the House, the council had asked me to look around at how some of the other municipalities dealt with situations, and there is very little pertaining to how they handle the actual person who is being problematic in the respect of how Adult Protective Services was offering to assist us. Basically, none of the municipalities I looked at had something in their own code addressing that situation. However, there are provisions in many codes, including ours, that allow for the township to get warrants to enter the building if the owner of a building that is suspected of being dangerous and a hazard and in need of an inspection. So there is that option if it comes to that with this particular gentleman. And also what I found, the guidance I found with regard to assessing an actual individual's capability of taking care of themselves and remaining in their homes, it would be a referral to the county Adult Protective Services. So there isn't a whole lot we can enact to give the municipality more power than it already has.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Council reports. Mr. Amianda, anything on Board of Ed or seniors?
Yes, I have. Board of Education met for a work session on May 9, 2016, 6:30 p.m. at the administration building in Flanders. Board of Education held a public hearing on the 2016-2017 school district budget. Taxes on an average house in Mount Olive Township will go up by $47 a year to fund the 2016 to 2017 school budget. The Board of Education adopted the general fund tax levy of $63,322,510 for the coming school year 2016 to 2017. The budget includes a debt tax levy of $4,234,072. The $47 increase is a little more than double the rate increase for municipal purposes, which is around $29. The average house assessment in Mount Olive Township is around $340,000. Dr. Reynolds, Superintendent of Schools, said that the budget was within the state mandated 2% cap. Dr. Reynolds said the budget includes capital projects and expenditures for the 2016 to 2017 school year. Besides the budget, the board took actions on personnel, curriculum and instructions, business and administrative matters. The board appointed Assistant Business Administrator, Mr. David Koso, effective May 16, 2016 through June 30th, 2016, at the salary amount of $20,934.60, and July 1, 2016 through July 30th, 2016 at the salary amount of $13,958. Mr. David Koso was then appointed business administrator at a salary of $167,500, effective October 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2017. Mr. Anthony Giordano, board president, Dr. Reynolds, superintendent of schools, and 2 other members of the board are to meet with Mount Olive Township Council representatives to discuss shared services. The date for the meeting was to be announced. And that is the end of the school board report. And this is for the Senior Citizens Club, May year 2016 is Seniors Citizens Month, and Mount Olive Seniors Club is to meet on May 23rd, 2016 at 1:30 p.m. for ice cream social. Ice cream is being provided by Mount Olive Township Council. And that's the end of the reports.
Thank you. Mayor, you had something?
Yeah, I just noted on Facebook a while back that in its annual rankings, U.S. News and World Report named its top 58 high schools in the state of New Jersey, including magnet, charter, and public. Those ranked, there were 6 schools in Morris County which made the top 58. Chatham High School was number 13, Madison High School was 23, Mountain Lakes was 29, West Morris Central 43, West Morris Mendham 45, and the 6th school was Mount Olive High School, number 50. So
Very good.
congratulations
Yeah.
to the Board of Education and the district in terms of having excellent ratings once again, which benefits us all at the end of the day.
Yeah, very good. Mr. Ferrante, anything on environmental, lake, or library?
Nothing tonight.
Ms. Slaybaugh, anything on economic or TNR?
Nothing on economic for TNR. I just want to remind everybody that on Sunday at Ron's Hair Studio, we're having the cut-a-thon from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. $5 or $10 donation, and then you can get your hair cut. And 100% of the $10 will go to TNR. So, and
Making sure
Ron's,
John goes, too.
huh? Yeah.
Just making sure John goes.
Yeah, there you go. And then, and Alex got his, and then they have, and that's located at Equity Plaza, Route 46 in Bud Lake. And then I just wanted to ask our attorney a question about, you said for the gentleman on Mount Olive Road?
Yes.
A warrant, what's the process for a warrant to go in? Because obviously he is, communicating with his neighbors, saying hi and that type of thing, so, and he drives, he's back and forth, so we're not really concerned on his mental or physical well-being, but his home, the structure of the home is a concern.
The public officer has to file an affidavit with the judge of the municipal court and show reasonable cause for issuing the warrant. And it could be the safety of the resident, it could be the safety of or the stability of the residence itself, and the judge will make a determination if there's good cause for issuing the warrant.
So any officer on our force, or the Or
No, the
construction-
public officer, I would assume it would be the construction
Construction
official
officer.
who's trying
Official.
to
Okay, that's
get
right.
in to do the inspection.
Okay, so that, so we'd go by that.
Construction
Okay,
And that's under the code 302-13.
okay,
Okay?
there we
Thank you.
go.
Mr.
Thank you.
Pena, anything on legislative planning?
No planning, I wasn't able to attend the meeting last week, but I will be attending the meeting this Thursday.
Thank you. Board of Health is meeting tomorrow evening here at 6:30. Open space, Mr. Roman, or recreation?
Nothing on open space, on recreation. The only thing I've noted to report was that the Buildings and Ground Department under the auspices of Jim Lynch will be has been looking into field lights being LED. Musco has been trying out LED lights for the past year in, I believe it was Ohio, which if we do end up installing their LED lights, it would not only be a significant savings as far as electrical usage, but from my understanding, the LED lights are able to be more focused, which would end up reducing the amount of glare that our residents would get if we were to install any additional lights, say, over at Turkey Brook. The lights would be able to be more focused in, and you can, what I was told is that you can actually just, if you wanted a light, say, a football field, you can adjust those lights so it just gets the field, and if you were walk off the field, it would be pitch black. You walk on, and bright as day. So I look forward to being able to take advantage of the latest technology for our residents. That's it.
Is that gonna be a cost to us, Alex, or is it,
Well,
are
it
they
would
gonna
be a
switching
cost.
it out?
No, well, I don't, that would be a discussion for us in the administration, but I don't think of, switching out our current lights. That'll be
They're
an
not
expensive
proposed.
As needed.
But
As needed,
since we're,
okay.
we're contemplating adding new lights at Turkey Brook, we would take advantage and go LED.
And the current, the lighting system that's there, can they change the bulbs, or do you have to change the whole entire?
No, it would be a
No.
whole.
A whole
the
another
kit
thing,
and
okay.
caboodle.
Thank you.
Mr. Stewart, anything on MOTV?
Not with the high school winding down right now.
Thank you. Anyone from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, close to the public. Any council comments? Mr. Amianda? No. Mr. Ferrante?
No.
Ms. Lebanon? Ms. Ray? Ms. Stewart? Mr. Roman? None for
No.
me. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you.